live, so can you...
No, we're not live. Steve, first of all, any bumps and bruises from Sunday?
Yeah, one or two. Unfortunately, John Fleck will be out. We lost John. He had a heavy landing on his back that eventually forced him to come off the pitch. So John won't be available, and obviously Andy Robertson suspended. So one or two others that we'll give another night's sleep to, just to see how they are, and then we'll pick a team from there.
Do you envisage core of players who featured in the first two games though playing again, or are you intending to maybe switch up again a bit?
Nah, similar to what I did in the last game. I made four changes to the starting, so wouldn't be far off that.
It's been a long week, it's been a very successful week. How important is it that the players keep going even if they are a bit drained?
No, I think obviously some rotation can help with the freshness of the team. The mentality and the mood within the camp is positive. We want to come out the other side of this game with the same positivity around the group going into next month's games.
In terms of what you've learned from your squad this week, I mean, there's still one game to go, but how much more optimistic do you feel now than you were, say, a week ago?
Yeah, but I was probably more optimistic a week ago than most people in the country. Obviously, we did some work on how we played last month as well. I was happier than most people with that because I knew it had gone well, irrespective of the results and the performances that were maybe criticised a little bit. But that's part of the job. We've done well this month so far, but we haven't finished. We've got another game to go against a very good Czech Republic team. I know they've been affected by the COVID situation, and their head coach won't be there, which is a shame because that's 2 games against them, and I haven't got to meet Yaroslav yet, so that is a shame. But they'll come with a pretty much a full strength starting 11 anyway, so we expect a tough game.
Can that head coach being absent be a disruption? And how much of a disruption could it be?
No, I don't think so. I think with the power of modern communication, I'm sure he'll be getting his message across. The assistant who will look after the team will have been his assistant for a long time, so they'll understand the way they want the team to play, and the players will understand the messages that are getting put across to them.
Just back on the way the team's played the last couple of games, but even your hardest critic will admit that something seems to have really clicked and your messaging is seeming to get across. Is that something you would agree with, that it seems that these last 2 international games, and 2 international groups of games, have really brought what you want to see to the pitch?
I think there's always a process of evolution when you make a change in a system, but I go back to it again what I said before the last one. The change of system can help a little bit, but we did okay with a 4-2-3-1 as well, so we can make changes within the system. I think the principles and the messages and the mentality that we want the players to take to the pitch is probably what's pleased me most in the last couple of games, and we want to take that into the 3rd game of this particular run of matches. And like I said, we want to finish positive and feeling good about the games coming up next month.
It has been a good camp, good results, but how challenging has it been as well with the whole situation around football at the moment?
Yeah, it's been challenging, but it's something else to learn. You know, I've been in the game near on 40 years, and obviously we've never had anything like this with the global pandemic that's gone around. So you have to be prepared to adapt. Fortunately, I can report that everyone who tested yesterday for us has come back negative, so we're in good shape for this game.
How difficult does that make it as well? You hear about all other countries being affected as well, that you're doing this testing before every game, so you might have a plan in place, your squad in place, and then that plan might have to be ripped up before the game.
Yeah, and it's not so much about ripping up the plan, it's probably just making sure that all your players are aware that they're very, very important to the squad. I think that's always been the case. Your squad players and all the players in your squad are what makes the team good on the pitch. So if everyone knows what they're expected to do when they come to the team, so proper preparation, it shouldn't affect you too much.
Steve, you spoke about the positivity and the optimism you've had over these games. I mean, I think it's fair to say over the last few years there's been a bit of a disillusionment with the national team amongst supporters, but there seems to be genuine optimism coming back in, excitement about what's in store for the national team. Is that something you sense, and how important is it to ensure that carries on?
it's probably not something I sense because I tend to steer clear of the sort of media reports and whatever between matches when I'm in camp, even when I'm outside the camp. I tend to focus on what I think is good for the squad, and I think as a national manager it's probably the only way to be, because you have to be a little bit single-minded. You have to understand what it is that you're trying to do with the squad of players you've got. So if the mood is more optimistic, that's good, because it'll mean a positivity around the place. And there's no reason for them not to be optimistic and positive. We have a one-off game next month that can take us to Euro 2020, which is good. And while I'm here, I think it's probably only right that I mention Alex McLeish and his staff and the players that managed to put us in that position. We have to thank them as well, because they topped the section, the League C section, that allowed us to play the semi-final, and is going to allow us to play the final. So I think that's worth mentioning now. But before we get there, we want to finish top of the League B section, because the Nations League is a very, very, no matter how people try to knock it down, it's much better than playing friendly matches. It's a competitive competition, and it also throws up another chance of a playoff route into the World Cup in Qatar 2022. So if we can top the section, then we'd have a chance of giving ourselves that safety net again, which is why we're playing Serbia next month.
Is that why you're insisting on not making too many changes for tomorrow night's game? Obviously, you're playing 3 games in the space of 6 days. National club managers, I'm sure, will be wanting you to give some guys a rest, but these have huge implications. This game tomorrow night, it offers you perhaps a playoff spot for a World Cup further down the line.
But I think club managers also recognise the fact that they have to play 3 games in 7 days at times. Sometimes it's even more than that. It's 5 and 14. You know, they have to do the same. The reason I make the changes is to try and be as sympathetic as possible to the players across 3 matches. It's very difficult for a player to play 3 matches at this level, this intensity, over a very short period of time. But with the right management, some of them can do it, some of them can't do it. But the more you get to know your players, and obviously you have to trust your medical staff, the more you know the ones that can do the hard yards across all 3 games, and you know the ones that maybe need to miss a game and play a game, miss a game. So it's good that I know the squad that way, the players that way, and hopefully I get the selection right tomorrow.
Steve, taking back to your comments, just you talked about being happier than most people. You spoke about the criticism. Do you think it's been unfair?
I didn't speak about the criticism. I didn't mention that.
You said the word criticism.
I said I don't look at the criticism. I just move on and focus on what I'm doing.
Has it irked you at all? I mean,
no, not at all.
You made a comment at the weekend about McTominay. Those that said that McTominay, for example, can't play in central defence. Do you think some people are a bit harsh?
I thought they were a bit quick. Not harsh, a bit quick on their judgment.
I mean, Willie Miller said on Sportsound last week, said, you know, in terms of the performance, a lack of shots on target, that it was just as well there weren't supporters in. Do you think that's unfair?
Well, if we'd got, I don't know, across the 2 games, if we'd had 5 shots on target against Israel and got knocked out in penalties, 5 shots on target against Slovakia and got beat 1-0, I'm sure we wouldn't have got credit for having 10 shots on target.
You mentioned the COVID situation. There was a statement from Celtic last night. They're clearly frustrated at what's going on. They could be without 4 players this weekend. They talked about wider discussions will have to take place around this hugely important issue. They'll monitor these discussions closely. Do you have sympathy for club managers right now whose players are away on international duty?
I've got sympathy for everybody that's affected by the COVID virus, whether it's football or outside football.
Are you comfortable with the amount of international matches at the moment, with players being away for so long and their managers clearly very concerned about potentially missing players for long periods?
If there was no international manager, I wouldn't have a job. In international games, I wouldn't be working. So, listen, it's part of the calendar, it's part of the football. Football comes back, club football comes back, international football comes back. And we're all doing the best we can in a difficult situation to get the football season played. So I don't think I'm the one to judge on the fixtures and who should be doing what. If we're asked to play the games, then that's what we'll do.
But you say to club managers in Scotland that, you know, the international set-up here, you're doing all that you can to protect their players. Does you feel comfortable sending players to the international?
Well, I think we've done that. I think the protocols that we've put in place have been proven. We had a COVID incident when we first got to the camp, and since then all tests negative. This one in particular would have been a little bit further into the period where you'd be getting nervous about it, and everyone comes back negative. So it means that Dr. John McLean and Head of Performance Graham Jones, who are responsible for those COVID protocols, have got it right.
Any managers been in touch at all to ask you?
Well, that would be private between me and any manager.
Paul Hanlon added to the squad.
Yeah, Paul's come in. It's good. We haven't done much training, so it's always difficult, I think, for the boys who join in after the initial few days when you get a chance to work on the training pitch, because you're just recovering between matches, more or less. But I think almost probably every comment I made about Andy Considine could relate to Paul Hanlon. One club man, plays week in, week out, steady away, 7 out of 10 for his club, and another one who I've seen close up as manager of Kilmarnock when we played against Hibs. So Paul's exactly the same as Andy, deserves his chance, just for his sheer consistency of performance over the times. And the more people that drop out, obviously the more chances there is for people to come into the squad.
On Andy, do you think, is that the case that it's not just a flash in the pan that Andy Considine's came in here? He's now well and truly in your thoughts, not just these matches but the matches going forward as well? Would that be something you're linked with?
I think he would be in my thoughts anyway. I mean, all these players are in your thoughts. You have to come down on the side of 23, 24, 25, 6 players when you pick your squad, but I've got an extended list of players, and obviously those boys are on it. They're on that list. It's how far down the depth of talent that you have to go before you get to these players for selection. Andy played the other night, looked as if he'd played a number of internationals, didn't look out of place, and we were pleased for him. And if he gets a chance to go again, then no worries.
Just on centre-half, Steve, how have the youngsters Ross McCrory and Ryan Porteous settled in this weekend? Could we see them tomorrow?
Well, I think I've seen more of Ryan Porteous because he's been with us from the beginning. So going back to the point I made, is 2 or 3 more training sessions before the first game rather than just the recovery sessions in between. But young Ross has come in, trained a couple of times with us, looks good. His performances are good. I liked him when he broke through at Rangers. I was up at Kilmarnock, and so I saw Ross breaking through. I watched him when he played at Portsmouth. So he's another one that we've always had our eye on. He does well for the under-21s, obviously captain of the 21s as well. So both good and both available for selection.
Just finally, I appreciate that you're focusing on tomorrow night's game and you want to win the Nations League group. But how much is tomorrow night's game for the players then playing to be in contention for the Serbia final?
All the players are in contention. Everyone who's played over the last 2 games haven't done their case any harm. And the ones that play tomorrow have got a chance to, like I said the other night, they have a chance to make themselves undroppable from the squad, and that's what we want. But the ones that are outside the squad just now also have a month, probably less than a month, probably 3 weeks before we name the next squad, 3 weeks to push themselves right to the front of my thoughts as well. So good time to be a Scottish player, ready to play international football.
Progress has been steady since you came in. How much more do you think you've got to come out of this group of players?
Hopefully there's more to come. Hopefully the evolution of the group will continue. That's what you have to do. I think as a club manager, when you take over a job, you're looking for that evolution. You obviously get a little bit more time to work with them, and you hope it comes quicker. Maybe as an international manager it takes a little bit longer because you only get them for short periods of time. And hopefully there's more evolution and more progress to come from this group of players.
Okay. Good luck.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks very much. Thank you.